Hey, it's Matt Roush,
And Mike Brennan.
and we're back with another segment of the M Squared TechCast.
And we have calling in, I think you're in Austin, aren't you? Austin, Texas?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Tarun Nemagata?
That's right.
I got it. Okay, I'm notorious for butchering names. So, speaking of contact testing,
I was going to say hi, Rochelle. Yeah, right,
yes.
as she's watching. Yeah.
Speaking
That's
of
the one I
contact
butchered.
testing, yes, I don't know if I think you were listening to Russell Schindler in the previous one, right?
I was, yes.
Okay, and so he was saying what's really needed is contact testing. And I know that's not what you started your company out to be, but like everybody else in these pandemic times, you're adapting your company to the needs of the time. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, I previously started a company called Mutual Mobile. And Mutual Mobile, I started when I was 20 years old, and we grew to over 300 people building iPhone apps for everybody, including Google and Android, and we became one of the largest app development companies in the country. When the pandemic came along, me and my co-founder at Mutual Mobile decided, in a time of great crisis, we have to ask ourselves what we can do for our country. And, we know how to build apps. And so we thought, what's the best app we could build for this virus to save lives and reopen the economy? And as we started to dig into the literature on what mankind has used to fight previous diseases and outbreaks, contact tracing kind of was a clear winner as one of the ways that we've fought and won the previous wars against MERS and SARS and Ebola. And so when the coronavirus comes along, we realize actually, so just to take a step back, what contact tracing really is that anytime somebody has tested positive, you interview them and you find out everybody that they've come into contact with, and you make sure that every one of those people gets quarantined and or tested. And we chase this virus down. Instead of shutting down the whole country, we get very specific about where the virus is and we chase it down. And that's really the only way to win in the long run. And if you assume that testing capacity is going to be limited for a long time, it's not possible or affordable to really test everybody every single day. Given that, the only way for us to allocate our testing capacity where it's needed the most is through contact tracing. Now, contact tracing has been around for a long time. You don't really need technology to do it. You can do it with a phone call. The problem is, if you read about what's going on with these all over the world, they've never had to do contact tracing at this scale, where they're having to contact trace for hundreds and thousands of people at once. And they're overwhelmed and they're throwing up their hands and they're saying, I don't have the time to do this. So technology is really going to be a big boon here. It's the only way for us to really automate the process of contact tracing and to do things that sometimes, manual contact tracers just cannot do, because they're relying when they interview you for you to remember. And, if you're like me, your memory is not quite perfect. And, I can't quite remember, everybody that I've come into contact with or every place that I've touched. So technology is a tool to effectively jog our memory and automate that process of contact tracing, so we can give public health a better tool for their response.
So are you using cell phone contact data, or what are you using instead of people's memories, or to augment people's memories?
That's right. So we built an app called Corona Trace, which you can check out on coronatrace.org. And it uses the phone GPS to automate the process of contact tracing. So if you and I were to come into contact, let's say you were to sit on a park bench and I sat on that park bench an hour later, then later on you get tested positive and you go to the app and you say, I was confirmed positive. Then I would get an alert saying an hour before you, someone that tested positive was at this location. So please take some precautions. Maybe don't hug your grandma. And if testing capacity becomes available, make sure that you get tested.
Okay. So is this app available right now, or is it still in development?
So the app is in a pilot program in New York City right now. We have over 500 people in New York City using the app. They've given us really valuable feedback for what we call the 1.0 release. We've incorporated all that into a 1.1 release, which we're planning to also put out into an expanded pilot program. And then in a period of about a week or 2 weeks or so, we plan to release this app in the App Store with support from public health authorities at the state, city level across the country.
So how are you addressing any privacy concerns people may have with this app?
That's a great question. And this whole thing hinges on finding that right balance of privacy and saving lives. When we started this thing, maybe some of our initial instincts were saving lives is so important, so let's just put our values on pause. But I think that's such a bad idea. And I think it's exactly in times of crisis that our values are tested, and everyone says maybe our values can be put on pause. But we decided as a nonprofit organization that we're going to protect privacy and civil liberties, and we are actually going to hold them as being equal to those sorts of essential liberties as being equal to saving lives. And one of the fundamental ways that we're doing that is that the application is purely opt-in. Unlike China or Singapore, you're not going to be fined if you don't use the app. The app is your civic responsibility, if you want to think of it that way, to share where you've been in an anonymous way to alert people that you may have put at risk. On the second side is the app literally doesn't collect any information about you that we don't need. We don't collect your name, your phone number, your email address. There's no login. We don't want to know who you are. We just want to know if you're infected and where you've been so that we can alert other people. So, and then there's other techniques that we're using. So if you're someone that's healthy, the data on your phone actually never leaves your device at all. Only the people that are infected share their data. And we're going through great lengths to figure out how to redact all of this information so we don't accidentally, even if the organization gets hacked, end up leaking some sort of private information about your home or anything like that. And we've engaged the security community. We have a bug bounty program. We're encouraging hackers to hack us so that we can find the vulnerabilities in our security, before it's out there for citizens.
Whoop, froze up on us. There we go. Okay. So do you need to be HIPAA compliant for something like this or not?
Not in the absolute initial stages, but we are absolutely taking a lot of steps towards being HIPAA compliant, because that may become necessary in the near future. Because we see that the app would basically also be, what we want to do is to also enable the app to effectively be immunity certificate. So if you got tested and you have antibodies and you're immune, perhaps the app can effectively act as a boarding pass to let you get on a flight again or to let you get on public transport again. For us to be able to get those sorts of health records into the app so that we can verify those test results, we think we will one day have to comply with laws like HIPAA and many others. And we're looking at all of those, but we are set up to be HIPAA compliant in the future.
I see that you see quite a possible application for this in the construction industry. Why don't you talk about that for just a bit, if you would, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So another company that I co-founded and I'm the CEO of is called Rocket. I'm wearing my Rocket hat today. Okay. And what many of your viewers might not know is that the construction industry has been declared a vital industry even in this uncertain time. So many of us working in technology, we might, or media, we have the luxury of doing our job sitting here, at home on our computers. But the construction industry workers don't have that same luxury. And it's important that they continue working, but it's also important that we keep them safe. So we found ourselves in a really interesting position where our technology that we've been building for the construction industry, that's building of roads, bridges, and highways, we'd long had the capability to do what we call electronic ticketing. And that's a way where if you complete a load of dirt or asphalt, you hand over a piece of paper, someone signs it, and that's your proof for you to get paid. Well, handing over these pieces of paper and getting touched by all these people has become a security risk. So all across the country, we're seeing just a massive increase in companies adopting our e-ticketing technology that allows these construction workers to stay 6 feet apart. And we're really proud and happy to serve them. We've given a lot of discounts and made our software free in certain situations to support this transition to electronic ticketing in the construction industry. But I've also been reflecting on the fact that we're very fortunate to be in a business, in an industry that is not nearly as hard hit as many others. And I think it's those of us that are blessed in that way, that have a responsibility to do more for the country and not just sit on the couch and watch TV like the government might be telling us to do, but rather use every moment that we have to contribute as responsible citizens to our neighbors and to our country.
Great. Now, why don't we give some website addresses, because we've got about a minute or two left, where folks can find out more about your various companies. Let's start with Corona Trace.
Yeah, you can find Corona Trace at coronatrace.org. And you can find Ruckit at goruckit.com, GORUCKIT.com.
And I'm assuming once you get through your beta test, you're going to put these on Android and iPhones, things like that?
Yeah, it's already ready for iPhone and Android.
So it's just a matter of what do you think that's actually going to be? I know it's hard to say when you're in beta, but I mean, what do you think? Another 30 days or less? Or?
No, we're looking at 2 weeks at the most.
So by May, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Well, a good cause to support. And how are things down in Austin? How are you guys doing down there? I'm sure you're locked down too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, everybody's locked down here. I think our mayor here in Austin took some steps pretty early, and the cases haven't, we canceled South by Southwest, which is a big music festival. It was just looking like a very good decision in retrospect. And the cases haven't spiked too much. And I think the governor's already talking about reopening the economy soon. So I think we've been pretty lucky and pretty fortunate, here in Texas. And it's starting to be summer. And, if rumors are to be believed, weather does have a role here. So, hopefully we'll get through this okay. But, my heart does go out to the oil field. And, they're in a real pinch right now because there's no planes in the air, no cars driving, and nobody's buying the oil that they're pumping out. And it's a very difficult time for them. So Texas is not going to get through this without a significant amount of hurt, but we're strong people, and we'll persevere.
All right.
All right. Thanks very much, Tara Nimagata, and his app, the tracing app.
Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life, but LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most of our classes are conveniently offered evenings at our beautiful Southfield campus or online, so you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.